Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to go to Los Angeles and talk with Tomas Kalnoky, lead singer, guitarist, and songwriter of Streetlight Manifesto. Thomas, welcome to the Keiser Report.
Thank you.
All right, Thomas, on your website, you recently wrote, Streetlight Manifesto proudly boycotts itself. Explain.
It's a very complicated situation, obviously. I'll try to sum it up. We are, like a lot of other musicians out there, frustrated with the way that our record label and the record industry in general has been treating us. And, you know, obviously, our concern is to be, our priority is to be successful as a band, and it's not to get a record on any sort of charts, nor is it even to sell X amount of records, which seem to be the goals of the record labels, both large and small, you know, independent and major labels. So we figured, since they're going to be screwing us over, and then, you know, hitting us, sending their lawyers over at us every time we try to dissent publicly, we're just going to go all out and pretty much try to be the first band to sell 0 records. So yeah, we've kind of announced a boycott. We asked our fans to not buy our records, to, well, I guess I have to be very careful about what words I choose now, but to find ways to listen to us that are maybe alternative to the mainstream in terms of walking into a store, buying a CD, or going to iTunes and buying the music. You know, our priority as musicians is to get people to come out to the shows and to support the touring process, to support us playing our music live, because that's the only way that fans can ensure that their money actually gets to the band that's trying to make a living out on the road.
Right. Well, the Recording Industry Association of America has become the turd in the punch bowl.
Sure.
They are suing your fans. They're suing customers. They're acting like complete litigious a nightmare, and they're making all people in the business look bad. But is there any way that you can disassociate yourself? Can the musicians somehow cut this lobbying group, the Recording Industry Association of America, can they disassociate themselves and fire them as a lobbyist? Because they're making all of you musicians look like idiots.
That's a little bit above my head. You know, I'm just a lowly musician. So, you know, we're kind of working with what we have, which is, you know, the power of our social media and whatnot, and the power of our websites and the power of our music. I honestly don't know. I've never met anyone that works for the RIAA, and I really don't care for what they're doing. I don't agree with them suing anyone, obviously. And I just, you know, the irony kind of blows my mind that they're the ones suing our fans, or they're suing people in general on our behalf, when we have absolutely no interest in anyone being sued. If the majority of independent musicians had their way, we would cut them out entirely, I would think. It comes down to musicians write music. At this point in time, with technology where it is, for the most part, a lot of us record our own music. You know, we can get distribution deals, or we can just use the internet to get our music out there. What it comes down to is everyone's freaking out. You know, the ship is sinking. All the rats are freaking out because their cushy little lives are kind of in danger. They're going to have to find new jobs. At the end of the day, the only people with jobs, theoretically, and this is kind of funny to say a musician having a job, but the only people with positions after everything settles are going to be the musicians and the fans for the most part. And they're just, you know, they're kind of flailing because they know their plane's crashing. Right.
Now, the comedian Louis C.K. recently, he put his concert video on his own website for free, basically. He asked people to donate $5 for a download that was completely free of digital rights management technology, without
Sure.
any FBI warning, without any RIAA or MPAA nonsense. Now, he made over $1 million in 1 week. This is obviously, as you've been talking about here, it cuts out the middleman. It cuts
Sure.
out the labels.
Sure.
It cuts out the parasites. So is this kind of what you're talking about, that if you go directly to the fans, you can make money touring, you can make money through donations, you can make lots of money, right? You don't have any problem making money. You just have problem giving money away to these parasitical labels, right?
Sure. Well, what it comes down to is, as musicians, we have a fan base, and kind of the understood agreement is that, you know, if we can make money from our music, we can stay on the road, and we can stay in the studio, and we can continue to make music. That's kind of the unspoken agreement between any musician, comedian, or whatnot, and their fan base. And that's pretty much exactly where everything's headed, where it comes straight from the artist to the consumer, for lack of a better word, to the fan, to the person who wants to experience what that person's creating. Unfortunately, we're in a situation where we still have an archaic record contract with a record company who I can't possibly support them. I would never say anything to compliment them. I'm trying to be political here so as not to get any more letters from lawyers. You know who you are. So the point is, we're trying to take it straight to the fans like everyone else, and the middle guys, the business guys, the guys in the corner offices with the giant giant computer monitors looking at numbers and reports and whatnot, they're kind of they're shaking in their boots, and you know, it's making everyone uncomfortable. But in a couple of years, I'm sure this will all be settled and we can get on with our lives, making music.
It's interesting that 10 years ago or so, David Bowie saw the writing on the wall, and he sold forward all of his catalog for cash up front, $50 million or so. I think he anticipated that the catalog value would be shrinking as, you know, the internet became huge. And he also has told the industry that, look, the musicians will adapt, they're creative, they'll always make money. You guys, the labels, are in trouble. And
Sure.
So David Bowie, does he get the proper recognition as having really seen this whole thing coming and actually cashed out at the last possible moment? This was maybe 10 or 12 years ago. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he's definitely of the right mindset, and you know, I can't stress enough how, in my opinion, you know, it's a cataclysmic change right now. You know, everything's falling apart, but for the musicians and for the fans, it's a good thing. You know, it's kind of a year zero situation where everything is going away, and we're going to start from scratch. And you know, the important thing is that it's a changing situation, and it changes all the time. Obviously, social media has a huge part of it. You know, anything that pretty much connects, you know, the musicians and the fan base is you know, is the future.
Let's talk about copyright for a second, because
Sure.
At the heart of this debate, of course, is the copyright debate. Now, to frame this debate, let me give some both sides of the argument here. On one side, you've got the labels and the copyright cartel trying to extend copyright perpetually, and they've done this for decades. So now you've got lifetime plus 70 years for copyright, and they argue that they need to protect this property. On the other side of the argument are those who say that there is no such thing as intellectual property, going all the way back to Thomas Jefferson, who was arguing this during the creation of the Constitution, saying you cannot put a property value on an idea. It's a detriment to society as a whole. So you have a case to be made for there having absolutely no copyright value, because unlike land, which has a clear title chain, you know who's owned the land over years. Sure. With an idea, with a song, with an artistic work, it's impossible to give accreditation or a title chain. It's impossible, because these ideas are owned by the public domain and should return to the public domain. But where do you weigh in on this copyright idea? Should there be zero? Should there be perpetual? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you know, being the artist, the musician, I'm not really concerned with copyright. A song is a song. It's a combination of chords and a melody laid over it. It's the actual physical media that they're copywriting and that they're selling. And in a perfect world, in a world where, you know, the artists get what they want, it's, you know, I don't really care about selling this piece of plastic, or even, you know, I'm not really concerned with how many $1 units we sell on iTunes of, you know, a digital representation of a song. The song is a song, and it means something to someone. And, you know, the way we make our living is from playing those songs live, not lip syncing them, but the way we make our money is by playing those songs live at a concert. So I'm not really concerned with copyright. Obviously, there have to be some laws down so, you know, Joe Schmo can't rip off, you know, lyrics or you know, a song in whole from another band. But, you know, in terms of the actual physical media being copyrighted by the record labels, I'm completely for the abolition of that.
Right. So abolition of copyright law. would be beneficial to artists and the industry as a whole because you can still perform live, whereas those people in the industry who rely on being gatekeepers.
Sure.
One thing that came out of the Napster case, of course, was that a judge determined that the CD sellers were in collusion and price fixing. So that kind of behavior was against the industry as a whole. So let me ask you about the SOPA, Stop Online Piracy Act, and other laws that would see illegal downloaders face decades in prison. The RIAA argues that these laws are needed to protect young artists like yourself. So once again, the question is, these ugly laws that are written by guys who don't know the Arctic monkeys from a baboon, they're arguing that they need to protect you. Do you feel protected?
Absolutely not. I think it's kind of hilarious. You've got all these guys in the background with their suits and whatnot, and they're all, you got to save the kids, got to save the musicians. What you're doing is screwing over the musicians, and the truth is, it's just screwing them over. So they're making a big deal out of it, and they're throwing us in front of them and saying, to make it more altruistic, like you're screwing over the bands you love. And the truth is, you're not screwing over the bands you love. And in my opinion, piracy gives you an option to try before you buy. There's a lot of crap being put out nowadays, and if I want to download an album illegally and check it out, listen to it a little bit, it's not that different from going into a store and listening to it, at a CD sampling station or whatever. And then if I don't like it, 9 times out of 10 I don't like it and I throw it away. If I like it, I actually go and I buy the CD or I buy some format of the music to support the artist and to kind of put my foot down and say I'm supporting this artist. And we're all for that. We're all for anyone pirating our music and then deciding, hey, if they like it, they can support the band in the best way they can, or the best way that we all agree. What we all agree on is the best for the artist, which is to come to the show, which is to buy the CD from the musician at the show, which is to buy a T-shirt, which is to wear that T-shirt and support the band in that way, not to support this archaic system of a bunch of bags in offices who are just like, oh, we're all gonna, the music industry's failing. It's not failing. It's not going anywhere. It's just you're screwed.
All right, Tomas Kalnoky, that's all the time we have. Thanks for being on the Keiser Report.
Thank you.